All right, you're good to go.
Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tater Talk, episode 72. I am your host, Justin Ledger, and I'm joined by Zach Hummel and Graz. We got the full house today.
Yep.
Graz and Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I can't believe we've done 72 episodes.
It
That's insane when you say it like
I
that.
can't decide if it's not a lot or if it is a lot. Like I look at it every now and then and I'm like, oh man, it's already 72. Like I feel like we haven't been doing this podcast for that long. And then the other days I'll look at it and be like, holy shit, we're at 72. That's insane. But either way, I mean, I think that's an accomplishment. We're gonna be at 100 before we know it. And by before we know it, I mean next season.
Yeah, the best ability is availability. Definitely
Yeah.
from that standpoint. Graz, I know you have some personal life news. Why don't we break it
Yeah.
on the pod?
Breaking it on the pot. Not many people know about this. Like, it's only my grandmother right now and you guys.
Oh, perfect.
Um,
Perfect. Tell them, make your announcement by telling them to subscribe to the podcast and listen to this episode.
okay, fine. That's easy. All my 6 friends would be happy to do that. I am officially moving out of my New York home to Connecticut to start my career at ESPN as a digital production assistant.
You heard it here first.
gonna be
We beat Woj and Shams to it.
That's
Graz is
right.
signing with ESPN.
Yep.
I'm starting. I have to move everything of mine in one single week. Also, find a roommate that doesn't find me weird, or find a weird roommate.
So
it's
make
gonna
a
be-
pitch. Make a short pitch to any roommate that in Connecticut that might need a roommate.
I'm a guy's guy. I like
Yikes.
a lot of things that guys like. I'm a guy's guy. That's what you say. These are the things. I like sports and New York sports teams and music, and I love spike ball and wiffle ball. I say backyard games.
How can
There's my
anyone
pitch.
turn that down? How can
Marvel
anyone?
movies. I'm a big Marvel movie guy. These are all my interests.
Roz is gonna get emails left and right. We're gonna get so many tweets at Tater Talk Pod of submissions to be Roz's roommate. So if anyone is happening to listen to this podcast in the Connecticut area, I don't know where are you looking, because Connecticut's huge. Saying
Bristol.
Connecticut area does not help.
Bristol, around
So around the-
Bristol, West Hartford. If you know any cool areas where I should end up living, tweet the pod and let me know.
There you go.
This is a,
And make sure you submit it with Graz's roommate sweepstakes.
hashtag Graz's
roommate
sweepstakes.
I think that might be too long of a hashtag. We'll find
That
out.
just rolls off the tongue.
Oh man! All right. Well, that actually might be my favorite story of the week. That Graz got the job at ESPN and is struggling to find a roommate by next week. But that'll be a fun storyline to follow moving forward. Probably gonna be my favorite story next week too. But my actual favorite story, jumping into the topic list here, I'll start off with the AL West. Who would have thought that the Athletics would be tying the Astros in the AL West? I think they went back to being a game behind. They lost the Astros, I think, last night. And but either way, that's quite the accomplishment. I think in June, maybe May, I don't know if it was May or June, but they were 11 and a half games back in that division. It looked like just another mediocre A's season. And now they're making a push for not only a wild card berth, but a division championship against the defending world champs. So that is my favorite story from this past week.
Yeah, that's been crazy. It's been fun to watch. I caught some of that series this weekend. And like, selfishly, me as an AL East fan, I mean, Yankee fans, if they get Houston in that wild card game and they can throw any of those starters and probably all of them at some point,
Yeah.
that's a scary proposition.
For sure. For sure. Just thinking that is a possibility, that the Yankees could be going up against the defending world champs in the wild card game. This goes back to what I was saying. I don't know if it was last week, 2 weeks ago, but I was talking about how the wild card game is the most electric event in sports, not baseball, in sports. And if you put the Yankees and the defending world champion Astros into that game, that amplifies it by like a million. So I'm really looking forward. I hope that's the wild card game. I'm rooting hard for the Athletics to win this AL West. I don't know that they will. Now that the Astros should be getting healthy relatively soon, getting their key guys back. At least I hope so for their sake. But either way, it's an awesome storyline. I'm very happy that we get this kind of race coming to the finish line this last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite story of the week, I'm a big Little League World Series guy. Follow it religiously, usually every year. Last year I didn't so much, but this year I'm back into it. Probably because I'm working from home and that's like the only shit on during the day.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool if you guys saw it. They had an MLB game in Williamsport last night, Mets and Phillies, and the players They flew into the small airport. They hung out with the kids, spent the day watching the kids play at Williamsport. I don't know if you guys have ever gone. When I was younger, I went 3 times with like some of my friends and their families. If you have a chance to go to Williamsport, do it 100%. It's like one of the coolest places to be. And I know it's kind of weird now that we're older if we went, but even if you have kids, it's just a great place to be. And I think MLB needs to do more of this in terms of having these big market teams break up the monotony of the major league season and play in a small city. Like if the Red Sox and Yankees decide to play a game in Hartford, like at the Yard Goat Stadium, that would be awesome. Like that would sell out, and it'd be cool to see these big players in this smaller, much more confined ballpark. I thought it was cool last night. So I think MLB should do more of that. And I think they're thinking about that because they've seen the success of what the Williamsport game has had.
I thought it was cool too. I liked everything about it. Like the players were acting more, they were more loose. I thought they were acting kind of like kids, to be honest. They saw the kids and it took them back to the days when they were kids. And they, like, you saw Rhys Hoskins. Did you see that video of him with the popcorn? That was hilarious. He just poured the popcorn all over his face. It was like watching a bunch of kids. It seemed like the Phillies and the Mets were 12 years old too. The whole environment seemed really refreshing. So I was happy to see that. That was a good story. Graz, how about you?
Me, very simple. I don't know how none of you guys said this. I was disappointed it wasn't on the sheet. Please tell me that the people in the world saw Sister Mary Jo throw an absolute 12-6 Sandy Koufax curveball for a strike.
I did see that.
Strike.
I did see that. Yeah, it was awesome. That was an underrated highlight, I thought, of the past week, is just this full nun outfit going out, throwing out the first pitch. I thought it was amazing. That was hilarious.
Yeah, so this is a very important story to me. So you're getting a quick Graz aside because we're trying to bring the host to the viewers. So my girlfriend, who I was doing the podcast house last week, actually lives in a converted convent because she's doing a Catholic teaching program. So I make the joke that she's a nun all the time.
Okay.
So this one spoke to me on a true level of nuns could do anything. So I sent her the video and said, hey, look, you could even be a pitcher someday. And not happy about it.
Oh, she didn't laugh.
No, not at all.
Unfortunate. It's tough. I'm sorry, Graz.
Yeah, there you go, Zach. This is what Zach comes for.
Yeah.
No, like the Catholic Church needed a win this week, and that was Sister Mary Jo.
Needed a win. Needed a win.
Bad.
Like well, let's not go there.
I don't want to go into it, but they nedeed that.
They needed a W badly. I mean, I guess that's a small consolation. Yeah. Well, let's not get into that. There were some brawls. We had brawls at the beginning of the year, and then we went through this dry spell. You would have thought there would be a lot of action during the summer. There really weren't many brawls to write home about. And now all of a sudden, with 6 weeks left in the season, we're seeing there's tensions are running high right now. Puig got into it for like the millionth time with the Giants. The Giants, I want to know, I want to be a fly on the wall when Puig gets brought up in conversation. They probably cannot stand that guy. So pretty much what happened, I'll give a short little rundown. We don't need to get too far into it because it happened like early last week. But Nick Hundley took exception with Puig's pretty much just showing emotion. I think he fouled the ball back and he threw his bat in the air a little bit and caught it. You could obviously see that he was pissed off, and Puig tends to do that from time to time. Hundley had some words for Puig. They shove and bench is clear. Didn't get really too crazy. I mean, I know Puig reached across and slapped Hundley. Like, I think Hundley had the mask on, so it was kind of stupid. But all in all, just the entire thing, Giants versus Dodgers, that rivalry is very much still alive. It's mostly Puig versus Dodgers, or I'll even say Puig versus Bumgarner. Did you see the camera cutting to Bumgarner every 2 seconds with that scowl on his face? I thought that was great. But Zach, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, these two teams just have that bad blood, and it seems like every year there's some sort of outburst of some sort, and it's usually surrounding Yasiel Puig or Madison Bumgarner. Hundley's another guy who gets pretty fired up, and I wasn't surprised he was sort of in the mix there. Buster Posey, if that was Buster Posey, I don't think it would have divulged into that because he's kind of a level-headed guy, but Hundley's a competitor, and I'm sure they were just fed up with Puig. I mean, just watching the game, he does a lot of stuff that like the old baseball people probably don't like. People like Bumgarner and Hundley, so I wasn't surprised it came to that. And it got pretty out of control for a second. Like Puig's a tough guy to hold back, and if he got like actual punches in, it could have got pretty messy. Yeah.
He was the only one really acting up. Everyone else seemed pretty level-headed, I would say. Hunley was obviously heated. Why wouldn't he be with the way that Puig was acting? But Puig was out of control. And I'll get to this later on, but Puig has been a head case probably the past, like, especially the past 2 or 3 years, and he's sucked for the past 2 or 3 years. He's been absolutely garbage. So I like when players show emotion and all that stuff, but it's almost as if Yasiel Puig wasn't a fiery guy, nobody would care about him. So I guess he needs to keep doing it to stay relevant, but he's been garbage for the past probably 2 or 3 years. So that's the part that's strange to me.
Yeah, definitely. Like his talent hasn't lived up to what he acts like on the field. I mean, he's having sort of a better year this year compared to some of the last years, but yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, wasn't he sent down to the minors at one point? I think it was like 2 years ago, but still. So on to the next brawl. This one I thought was a bigger deal than the Dodgers-Giants. Dodgers-Giants was just a little scuffle, it was just, you see it from time to time with rivals. This one was controversial because Jose Urena, I think that's how you say his name, on the Marlins, he's actually one of their better pitchers, I would say, which isn't saying a whole lot, but Ronald Acuna, who's been on an absolute tear, no hotter hitter in baseball. He had 5 straight games with a home run, and he was going for 6 against the Marlins. First pitch of the game, Jose Urena throws it right at Ronald Acuna. Acuna was hurt. He actually ended up leaving this game, and benches cleared then. Braves, obviously, and rightfully so, were heated. I thought this was a Bush League move by Jose Urena. He was suspended 6 games for it. I think it should have been, I'll go as far to say 20 games because starters miss, 6 games is 1 start. So he's missing 1 start due to this, and I don't think that's enough. I think he needs to miss probably at least 3. I'm so sick of pitchers throwing at guys because they're good. I get like throwing retaliation about something. Throwing at them because they're destroying you is not an excuse. I think it's one of the more frowned upon things in baseball.
Yeah, and to me, it's all about intent, and I think he had intent to hurt him, throwing a fastball up and in. I'm fine with, like, Acuna's been killing them. He needs to be backed off the plate, throwing an inside pitch just to kind of push him back a little bit. But that was clearly to hit him and possibly injure him, too.
Yeah.
And I think someone said it great on MLB Network. It's like, there wasn't outrage at first, but then the Braves were so surprised at what happened. Like, wow, he really just did that. Right. Then they all came out of the dugout, and the Braves manager, I think his name's Snedeker, was just yelling and screaming at the umps. Yeah, and I thought it should have been a longer suspension too for Urena. Like you can't have that in the game. Like you said, and he's a good young pitcher too. I think he pitched a complete game versus the Nats his next start this weekend.
Yep.
So it's just Bush League, like you said.
Exactly. And it just goes to show, I mean, it was a 97 mile per hour fastball, which I read a stat, and I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I think it was like the fastest pitch of his career or something in the first inning. He was trying to hurt him. That's the deliberate part. They should have looked over all the details like that. Not to mention that Ronald Acuna is a star rookie 20-year-old who is on the best tear that we've seen any player go on this season. MLB needs to do a better job of protecting those kind of guys from assholes who are out to injure. They should have made a statement with the suspension, and they didn't. So I thought that was unfortunate. Hopefully the next time this happens, MLB can actually set an example. Otherwise, we're going to have a bunch more of these types of incidents. What do you have to say about it?
I was going to say, like, if I was a guy in the Marlins and I was a veteran, I would be pissed at Urena. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that could be me up at the plate next time. You know, they could retaliate. So it just made no sense. And the Marlins guys were not really outraged about it, which I was crazy. Like, if my teammate did that, I would be so pissed at him. Maybe they handled it behind closed doors, but I thought that was pretty weird.
And Don Mattingly actually said after he pretty much did not stand up for Urena at all. He did not. You know, usually the manager protects their guy and is just like, oh, it wasn't intentional. I don't think he meant to hurt him, blah, blah, blah. They give that whole spiel. Mattingly was like, yeah, we don't like that on our team. Like, we don't stand for that. Like, so I thought that was a good move by Mattingly to not take the usual route of being like, oh, that he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. So on to the next thing here. This is the opposite of outrage. EA Sports, an executive, I think it's like the guy who was in charge of making like MVP baseball and all that. He said there's a chance that MVP baseball makes a comeback someday. He didn't really give a timetable. He just said, yeah, we want it to happen. And it put the internet in a frenzy. Nostalgia overload. Obviously, we have our video game bracket, which we'll get to later on today. So this is a topical subject for us. What are your thoughts on this? I have a take. I might be considered a hot take, but I want to know your take on the prospect of EA Sports maybe coming back with MVP baseball.
I have a question, just so I know, like, why did MVP baseball go away in the first place? Was it they didn't want to pay for the rights, or it was just not a high performing game?
I think 2K Sports bought the licensing when EA Sports ran out. So the last year that EA Sports had the licensing was 2005, obviously, when that game came out. After that, 2K Sports came in and they must have outbid, or the EA Sports didn't bother. I'm not really sure how that went down, but it went to 2K, which is the worst thing that ever happened because the 2K baseball games were pure trash.
Yeah, I haven't played a video game in a while, but I would definitely play MVP baseball if it came back. I can assure you that. It seems like the biggest no-brainer ever to do that, especially if they made it sort of like it was back in the day and they didn't try to like upgrade it so much. I would just like that version if they could just update the rosters and keep the same gameplay.
Everyone was so excited when they saw the little blurb that EA Sports could be coming back with MVP baseball, but I thought deeper into it, and I almost don't want it to happen because it'll mess with our memories of how MVP baseball used to be, and then we'll play these updated versions, which no doubt they're going to update to have great graphics, more realistic MLB The Show style, and I do not want that because it's going to ruin all the nostalgia that we had with 04 and 05. And it's just going to disappoint. There's no way it's going to live up to the expectations that we have for MVP baseball. Because when I think of MVP baseball, I think of just my childhood, best sports game I've ever played in my entire life. No chance that a new MVP baseball game, while it might be good, no chance would it live up to that. That's my take on it, and I know a lot of people are just hyped up, like give me MVP baseball. I'd be a little worried buying it.
Yeah, and like I think this executive probably just floated this to see what the reaction would be. Like, are people down for it, or are people like you're saying, like, I just want to leave that separate from what you guys are doing now? Maybe they just create a whole new game for EA Sports and they name it something different so it doesn't really mess with our memories of MVP baseball.
Yeah, that would be a shitty move on their part though, like marketing wise, because the way people will purchase it is if it is named MVP baseball. If it's named MVP baseball, they will sell so many copies. I just think it would end up disappointing people, especially the way EA Sports goes about making Madden nowadays. It's kind of, I don't hate Madden like a lot of people do, but if the baseball game, the style is anything similar to Madden, I want no part of that. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. It doesn't sound like anything that would happen anytime soon, but Xbox doesn't have I think they might have RBI baseball, which isn't even anything special. I don't even think it's like a real game. But they don't really have a baseball game, so they need one, and we'll see if EA Sports capitalizes sooner rather than later. Zobrist, sticking to electronics here. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Ben Zobrist. He was ejected this past week for telling an ump that this is why they want electronic strike zones. Before we get into this topic here, we put a poll on Tater Talk, and it blew up. It was just yes or no question. Should MLB have electronic strike zones? I think it was 62% yes, 38% no. I'm interested to know there were like 5,000 votes on the thing. So that's a legit sample size, I would say. I mean, it's still a little bit small, but that's for a Twitter poll. I think that's reasonable. I want to know what you guys think, starting with you, Zach. Are you in on an electronic strike zones?
I'm 100% in on this. I think anyone that's ever played a sport, you just want consistency from your referees or your umpires. And when there's a person involved, you don't get that. With an electronic strike zone, it'd be 100% consistent. Both sides, you can't argue anything. Like, that's what it is. It's set. So I'm a guy that I just like to get the play right. I know people don't like the delays that reviews have, but at the end of the day, I want the right call to be made, even if it's against my team, just so I can sleep at night and be like, okay, they did get their 2 feet in, or they did that went out of the ballpark, or that was a fair ball. So I'm all for electronic strike zones. It needs to be implemented the right way, I'll say. I don't know what people have pitched in the past, but I think it could be really bad if they don't implement it the right way.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly they'd go about doing it. I have an argument for and against. I lean for it. It's like you said, I don't know. They need to do it the right way. Otherwise, it could be a complete disaster. The way I argue against, I argue for it because of the accuracy, like you just said. The way I argue against it is there's all this talk right now that I don't really buy into, but a lot of people do, that baseball is boring. And a lot of the excitement does come from, coaches and players arguing with the umpires. And, it leads to a lot of tensions get high, and who knows what could happen from there. I love watching a manager, for example. We watched one take a trash can. It was a minor league manager, but took a trash can from the dugout and put it on the plate and said, "Get in the trash can." And I thought that was the funniest clip of the week. So we're not going to have moments like that anymore if there's no ump. So I love the old school aspect of the Lou Pinillas of the world going out there and just spitting in the umpire's face and gum, like Bobby Valentine's gum when it fell into on the umpire. Moments like that will be gone with electronic strike zones. That's where I get wary of it. But from an accuracy standpoint, I think it's a no-brainer.
I just pictured in my head like a little bit of a robot behind home plate, and someone doesn't agree with the call, and they just smash it with their bat. Yeah.
Oh my God, David Ortiz! Remember when David Ortiz smashed the phone in the dugout?
Yeah,
he would have smashed that robot in 0.2 seconds, and actually, that would be an awesome clip. So maybe we should have robots.
They take it out of your salary and they wheel another robot out just to replace the one you just destroyed.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about like the delays and all that. There wouldn't be delays, I don't think, for a strike zone, because we see it with like the Amica strike zone in Red Sox games or the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. We see, I mean, it's either a strike or it's not.
Yeah,
there's no
call it.
Yeah, and there's no, all the umps aren't gathering to make sure it was a strike or not. That's not going to happen. It's either going to be on the black, or it's going to be in the strike zone, or it's going to be out. There's no. Yeah.
Two things too. It's like, all right, one, if Zobrist is saying this, he's a pretty respected player, been in the league a while. There's definitely more players talking about this and maybe wanting to implement it. So maybe they try to get that in the collective bargaining. And two, puts a bunch of umpires out of a job if this happens. So
yeah, it does.
Job killing.
I think you would still have base umps, though. I don't think you could do electronic all the way around. I still think you need a human element on the bases. Maybe they could evolve later on and do that, but I think that's a little bit more complicated. Because what happens if you have like the Chase Utley slide? You know what I mean? How are they going to rule that? Is it just going to be a robot who says if it's clean or not? I don't know how they'll do all that type of stuff. So it's an interesting age that we're heading into, though, in baseball, because while all of these arguments about baseball not being exciting enough are happening, they want to dumb it down, or I guess make it smarter, but in a way dumb it down and get rid of the human element with electronic strike zones. So you can't have it both ways.
I have a question for you guys.
Go ahead.
Are these electronic strike zones, are they going to be just like put through the plate, or is there going to be like a robot behind?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is like Klansky, the robot from Backyard Baseball, going to be standing behind making the calls?
I would prefer that. I just don't think they would do it. I would love a robot behind home plate at all times. Just don't think they would ever do that.
It definitely needs to be behind home plate, because what, are people going to look at the scoreboard every pitch to see if it was a strike? Maybe someone just holds a flag like strike or ball. Like the old Mario Party game.
I was just about to say that, but I didn't know if you guys would get the reference with like the guy on the ship holding up the red and the white flags.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. Okay, on to the next thing here. Flying right along. Bryce Harper. A little bit of Bryce Harper news this past week. Not because the Nationals are good, because they are still trash this week, but there's a little bit of talk that Bryce Harper could end up in Philadelphia. John Heyman, I think he's with FanCred now. He goes all over the map now. He was on Yahoo for a while. Then he went to FanRag Sports, whatever that is. And then now he's with FanCred. I don't know what FanCred is, but John Heyman, he's an esteemed baseball writer. And he said that a rival GM expects Harper to sign with the Phillies in free agency. I can actually picture this. I don't think it's something the Phillies should do. I can picture it happening. So the article talks about Manny Machado, who's also a free agent this offseason. It's going to be such a good offseason free agency wise, by the way. It's going to be awesome. but Machado and Harper are both being looked at by the Phillies, both strongly considering the Phillies in free agency, reportedly. And I think Harper, out of those two, is the more likely one to head to Philly if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, he would hit 1,000,000 home runs in that ballpark. It's a bandbox. I hate John Heyman, by the way. Just a side note, I despise that guy.
Yeah, I don't like him very much either. I'm not very fond.
So it's one of those things where, like, how are the Phillies being rumored for all these players? Like, what's the draw there? Because eventually they're going to have to start paying these players. Like, they're going to have to give Nola a new contract. Hoskins is going to be up. Like, they have all these young players. Nick Williams.
Franco, Herrera.
Yeah, Tommy Joseph, who's injured this year, but is really good last year. Kingery, who they just gave a long-term deal for nothing. So that looks great at this point. But
it looks terrible.
If they're going to put all that money into Bryce Harper, or Manny Machado, how are they expect to pay these guys? I know the Phillies have somewhat been a big market team back when they had those teams with Utley, Howard, Burrell, all those guys. But are they ready to do that now while they have all these guys under controlled, cheap contracts? Maybe they do. They just splurge on a guy for a couple years,
Yeah. I don't know about from a financial standpoint how they do it. I'm sure they have their own way mapped out in their head if they're strongly considering it. All I know is the only part of me that would be a little bit shocked if Harper went to the Phillies is that he's going to a division rival and he's choosing to go to a division rival because he's been so faithful to Washington since he's come into the league, and to go to the Phillies would be such a slap in the face for Nationals fans. I still think he's going to end up with the Cubs. I can't. The fact that his dog's name is Wrigley, if he goes to any other team but the Cubs, my mind won't be in a pretzel. I can't comprehend that. You named your dog Wrigley for a reason. You got to go to the Cubs in free agency. I think that's where he ends up.
And the Bryant connection too, growing up together. So,
yep. And the other part of this is Harper going, like, I don't understand how Harper going to the Phillies makes sense also because I forgot what I was going to say. Pause for a second.
I can ask you guys a question. I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead. I'll just delete that.
Going on this, do you want, if you're going to spend the money on someone, do you just spend the money internally for a little bit and then Mike Trout's a free agent in 2 years and he's from Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, and I completely forgot it. Yeah, you go with Mike Trout there, obviously. I think you have to wait it out.
29 years old.
You have enough talent right now where you can still compete for a couple more years until Mike Trout's a free agent. You go out, you get Trout. You don't waste all your money on a Harper or Machado right now. You don't need that. You might not be a World Series contender in these next couple seasons, but you're at least going to be a competitor in the NL East, especially with the Nationals team that probably won't have Harper anymore. So just wait for Trout. Trout will probably sign with Philly if they reach out with a decent size deal.
Yeah, and you got to imagine the Yankees are going to get one of the two of these guys, Harper or Machado, this year. You just have to think they're going to get one of the guys. So we'll see what happens. It should be interesting. Like you said, it's like the NBA free agency, you know, when the big guys are up. This is the year that everyone's looking forward to. Time out.
I have a question. Last thing on both of them, free agency, before you move on. Are the Red Sox not interested in either of them?
There's no reports about it. Yeah, I think the Yankees are interested. I haven't heard any Trout and Harper talks. I mean, Trout and Yankees talks. I've heard Harper and Yankees talks. Machado and the Yankees are going to end up together. There's been nothing but Machado to the Yankees talk. The Harper thing's a little weirder because they don't need him. They don't need another outfielder. So that's where I don't think he's a good fit there, but who knows? It's the Yankees. They figure it out.
Yeah, if they were in for any of them, I'd say Machado because I'm not sold that on Devers at third. So if he's willing to play there, I know he kind of wants to play short. But yeah, I think the Red Sox have too much tied up money and they're over the luxury tax. They're the highest payroll in baseball at this point. So and that's not going anywhere at this point.
Yeah. And speaking of the Red Sox here, Chris Sale back on the DL with shoulder inflammation. Really quickly, we'll talk about this. What is your concern level at, Zach? 1 to 10 right now?
10 being like extremely concerned. Yes. I'm probably at a 6.5 right now.
Okay.
Just because I know he said it's precautionary, but he seemed like, I watched the clip of him in the clubhouse speaking to the media. He seems very frustrated with it. And if he's frustrated with it, that worries me, because if he wasn't, he was like, oh, this is just, they're getting me some rest before the playoff starts. That'd be the answer. But it seems like this is a little bit more serious than that. So I'll go 6.5. Obviously, we have a large enough lead where we can rest him at this point, but I also want to see him pitch, because last time out versus the Orioles, he was unreal. So yeah. He does need to get a couple starts in before the playoff starts.
Yeah, I'll give it. I was gonna go around the 6.5. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll just go 7. I think the first time around, I was at probably a 3 out of 10. I wasn't really worried at all. Obviously, anytime someone goes on the DL, it's a little bit of a concern, but I thought it was more rest related than injury related. And this seems like an actual thing that's nagging Chris Sale now. So I'm a little bit worried. I'll give it a 7, because you need Chris Sale to be 100% come the playoffs. If he's anything less than 100%, especially since we saw him stink it up against the Astros last year, it begs the question, if he goes into the playoffs and lays a dud on the ground, it begs the question, is Chris Sale meant to last an entire 162 game season plus playoffs? Because Chris Sale has been known to suck towards the tail end of the season and be an absolute stud for the first half. It's scary. It's just scary. And he's still really good. There's nothing talent-wise to worry about right now. It's just, can his body physically hold it together for a full season? I'm not convinced that it can.
Yeah, what he does with that body and his motion, it's so violent that
exactly.
I mean, everyone watches him says, how does this guy not break down? So maybe we're seeing that, which is scary as a Red Sox fan, because after him, Price or Porcello, no thanks. Yeah,
Tony Maz on 98.5 The Sports Hub was talking about Chris Sale's frame, which I get this point. He was talking about his frame and how he's the skinniest dude. He's like 6'6", 180 or something like that. And the way his motion is and everything, how hard he throws, he's pretty much made to break down at some point, the way that he pitches. And then he started going off. Tony Maz started going off about Chris Sale's ass. He goes, look, next time he walks off the mound, look at his ass. He doesn't have an ass. He went off about that for like 5 minutes straight. So that's the state of Boston sports radio right now. But Chris Sale, I am a little bit worried.
Yeah, that show is always into like Mike Felger will talk about Larry Fitzgerald's ass. He'll talk a whole segment about that. So
yeah,
I don't put too much stock in a guy's ass.
No, definitely not. I mean, he went into detail too, saying all the other pitchers have an ass, but Chris Sale doesn't have an ass. Like that was a stat or something. Like the bigger the ass, the lower your ERA. Okay, let's jump into rapid reactions. I had some fun with this last week because it's actually pretty tough to do this. So if you missed last week's episode, rapid reactions, we're going to have a timer here for 1 minute, only 1 minute to run through all of these topics. I don't even know how many we have, but there are a few here. And we're just going to do this as quick as we can. If you've seen PTI, they do something similar to this. I think they do 1.5 minutes, but we do a minute on this show. So a quick minute of rapid reactions starting now. First question, is the lack of attendance with the Athletics a bad look for MLB, the A's, or both?
I think it's a bad look for the A's, but they've always kind of had a lack of attendance. It's always known that Oakland doesn't draw the most fans, so I'm not overly concerned about this. It is for MLB just because it's one of their best teams and their most marketable teams at this point.
Victor Martinez retiring after the season. Any final words for him?
He had a great stint as a Red Sox.
He did. 60 different position players pitched this year, 32 all of last year. Do you have any problems with that?
I do, just because I don't want to ever see position players pitch, but I guess people have to save their bullpen. So
strong disagree with you. Trevor Bauer might be out for the year, or at least he's out for a decent amount of time. Thoughts on that?
Still has the best spin rate in MLB.
Verlander gets win number 200.
He was terrible, and he still got the win yesterday. So
Michael Kopech called up.
Great for them.
That's a minute. That's what you get out of rapid reactions. Just hot take after hot take. Oh, man, I love that. That's my new favorite segment, I think. Rapid reactions. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with Kopech. So I guess we'll cheat here a little bit. Kopech has actually not been very good in AAA. So I'm a little bit concerned with the White Sox. This could be just another White Sox dud on the way. Yohan Moncada sucks ass. So I'm interested to see if Kopech can figure it out at the major league level. Guy has electric stuff. He just doesn't really have command. So I'm rooting for him. I really am. but I don't know. I think the concern level should be fairly high if you're a White Sox fan.
Yeah, that trade's looking better and better for the Red Sox because I know the White Sox really wanted Benintendi, and the Red Sox said, you can't have them, but you can have Moncada and Kopech, and they've both been absolutely terrible. So
it makes Dombrowski look smart, but obviously they're still really young, so we have a lot of time to see if this ends up being a smart trade or not, especially because Chris Sale is going to want some money in free agency. So duds and when you're hot are two most familiar segments on this show. And speaking of duds and when you're hot, starting next season, this is going to be a monthly thing. We've been doing this weekly for 2 seasons now. I think next year we've agreed that monthly is the way to go. So it's just sometimes it just gets in the way. Like finding a dud and when you're hot every week gets repetitive. So we want to make this show less repetitive, get some new ideas in. It'll be monthly next season. But for now, it's still weekly. So I'll start with my dud. And it's someone we talked about earlier is Yasiel Puig. He had a terrible week in 2 ways. He got suspended for 2 games for being an asshole, and he just was terrible at the plate. I don't know. Those are the 2 ways to put it. He's my dud of the week.
Yeah, he's been bad this past week, and I think it was a little bit frustration because of that brawl as well. My dud of the week, I'm so happy to say this. My old high school buddy, Sal Romano, had an absolutely terrible start for the Reds. Didn't make it out of the 2nd inning, gave up 7 hits, 6 runs. Good riddance. Guy sucks.
He's now a 2-time dud for the season.
Yep.
2-time dud of the week, Sal Romano. Did you say you got a hit off of him?
No, I forgot what I did. I definitely faced him.
I've made that into a home run. That hit has become a home run.
Yeah. So Zach homered off of Sal Romano of the Cincinnati Reds. Good job, Zach. That's actually quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, let's keep that going. I like that.
Yeah. When you're hot, you're hot. My when you're hot this week is Colton Wong of the St. Louis Cardinals, kind of an unsung hero for that team. The Cardinals, I can't get a read on this team all season long, but the one constant that I've seen is Colton Wong. He's been great defensively, and every single time I tune into a Cardinals game, he seems to get a clutch hit. I've bet against the Cardinals 3 times this year. He's hit a walk-off home run in all 3 of them. Fun fact. I think actually 2 of them were walk-off home runs. The other one was just a clutch hit, but still, that's tough. I hate this guy, but he's still my when you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah, the Cardinals are wicked hot right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10. That NL wildcard race is becoming just smoke them if you got them. Like if you're not winning on a daily basis, you're out of the playoffs.
It's like what I said earlier about the AL West. I wanted to get into the wild card and all that stuff, but we already talked about that last week. But all of these races are really my favorite stories of the week. Is just I just love it's just more competition. It's such a long season, and now we're seeing them all really ramp it up to the next level.
Yeah, it's great following on like a night-to-night basis, seeing what teams come in and come out. So my when you're hot is from another NL wildcard team. It's my ginger brother, Justin Turner. Had a huge series versus the Mariners. He's getting back to where he was, when he was in his heyday for the Dodgers. He's been battling injuries. Obviously, he started the season on the DL. He had 3 home runs, seven ribbies. Helped the Dodgers I think they took 3 out of 4 from the Mariners over the weekend. So Dodgers are starting to heat up, and it's because of Justin Turner.
I'm a huge Justin Turner guy. I love that guy. And Machado's starting to heat up too. He hit 2 home runs the other night. So if those 2 can start producing at the same time as we get these last 6 weeks, I think it is over with, it's going to be a show in LA. Next up, we'll do the mailbag. Graz, hit us with your mailbag questions.
I always got questions for you guys. Do you want to start with the game that I came up with, this little trivia game? Okay, here you go. So in honor of, I'm pretty sure I made a prediction to my friends, Boston friends, that JD Martinez is going to win the Triple Crown. So in honor of that, how many AL Triple Crown winners do you guys think you could name? Everyone but one person on this list is like a household name, like one you've definitely heard.
Oh shit. Well, one is easy. It's Miguel Cabrera.
Good.
Yeah.
Carl Yastrzemski.
Yep.
I am not going to be able to guess the Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb. Yep.
Ted Williams.
Ted Williams. Yep.
Huh.
Now this is where it gets hard.
There's a lot of names on here that are names
Yeah, but it's like I don't
world famous names.
Can you give us decades?
Yeah. Okay. So you have one. Okay, I'm going to give you Nap Laurie. from 1901.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's your free. That's your free space, like bingo.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so you got Cobb. The next one, there's two in the 1930s that you haven't said yet.
The 1930s.
Two in the 1930s. Two very famous baseball players.
When did Mickey Mantle play?
Who, Mantle? Mantle's on the list. He's in the 50s.
He's the 50s.
Lou Gehrig?
Lou Gehrig is one. Good.
I think we're actually doing we're doing better
You're
than
doing
I thought.
well. You only have,
Is it another
two left.
What team? Without giving it away.
Philadelphia when they were in the AL back in 1933, and then
For the
Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles in the 60s. No, 60s.
Brooks Robinson.
Brooke Robinson.
Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson.
Which one was Brooks Robinson? What team did he play for? He was Orioles too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was third baseman. Frank was outfielder or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Frank
Trick
Robinson.
question,
Okay, and then so you got all but one of them, and I'm going to tell you this name, and you're going to be upset.
Phillies, you said? Mike Schmidt.
Philly. No. Wait, 1933.
Oh shit, it's the 30s. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think
John
it's
Kruk.
Jamie Foxx. No, John Kruk. It is absolutely John Kruk. Yep.
A 1930s John Kruk.
He played
Kruk,
for the Red
yeah.
Sox, right? Jimmy Fox?
Jamie Foxx. Yeah, but he won it when he was on Philly.
All
Back
right.
in the 30s. You guys did way better than I expected.
We did a lot better than I anticipated.
I think we just threw out good player names.
Yep.
But that's what I was saying. It was
Babe
easy
Ruth.
because he had good player names. Babe Ruth never won one. Okay.
He's
Here you go.
He's a dud. Babe Ruth is my dud of the week.
He only hit 6 home runs this week. He's a dud.
Yeah.
Okay, here. So in honor of my first pitch story, can you recall what the worst first pitch you've ever seen was?
50
It could
Cent.
be ceremony. 50 Cent is up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Carly Rae Jepsen is my pick.
Yeah, but she's like, you got to give her the benefit of the doubt. When you see like Carly Rae Jepsen up there, do you expect a good pitch? Probably not. When you see 50 Cent up there, still probably don't expect a great pitch, but I mean, you got to at least show me something rather than what he did. There were so many memes when that happened. Remember the Lance Stevenson one where it's him blowing the pitch?
I have two. John Wall had a terrible one, and then Josh Jackson from the Phoenix Suns threw one for the Diamondbacks after he got drafted, and it was terrible, and he got booed, which was hilarious.
Yeah, there's a lot. I will never understand how people would just physically. They're close to the plate too. They're not on the mound when they do it usually. So
it's a cringeworthy moment for sure.
They can't throw baseballs. I don't get it.
Okay. Here, we got one from Twitter. Finally, it happened. Twitter question. In honor of Big Al, who hits dingers, what are the best and worst nicknames for home runs?
All right. Well, the best one's obviously Tater. Can we all agree on that? The best nickname for a home run is a Tater. But other than Tater, I mean, Dinger is obviously my favorite. I'm trying to think of other ones. Moonshot, Laser, Big Fly.
I like Eckersley. He says going bridge. I like that.
Bridge.
Going
That's another
bridge.
one. Yeah.
Oppo Taco.
Oppo Taco hitting an absolute bomb. That's when you know it went at least 475 feet.
Yeah. I've been getting into saying different places among the solar system. Like, wow, that ball was hit to Titan, the moon, Saturn's moon, Titan.
That's too wordy, Gross.
No, you gotta. That's the whole point of it. You gotta have fun with it.
There are so many that we're missing. I'm kind of disappointed in us right now.
Ding dong. I also like when just like you're watching late night Sports Center as a kid and they would just yell, like Kenny Mayne would just yell something completely random.
Yeah, Souvenir City. Like they used to always say that.
Yep. Those are the days.
I don't know if this fits in, but anytime the ball is hit directly to center field and Carl Ravitch on Baseball Tonight would say, if it's fair, it's gone, I would laugh. I still do it.
I like Carl Ravitch a lot, actually. He's one of the ones on there. They're very few and far between now on ESPN.
I know. Remember when that was fun to like watch the highlights the morning after games and like they would have fun with the highlights? It was great.
Yeah.
10 o'clock Baseball Tonight was my summer. I would go home after my day and I would sit down after the Yankees game and watch 10 o'clock Baseball Tonight and play games like Name That Molina and all the stupid shit they used to do.
Did you guys see Chris Berman's coming back? I think he's doing football stuff, but if he doesn't come back and do the home run derby next year, I might just boycott it. He needs to do the home run derby again. That was so bad, the broadcast this year.
Oh yeah, they needed them. Some other ones is going yard work. Kids used to say that, yard work.
Yeah. Rake. Oh, that's not a home run. He just
that's just like good. Yeah. You just hits. Okay, moving on. Next question. Okay. So, big issue in my Yankees department that we didn't touch on. Is it a big deal? Didi Gregorius is headed for the DL most likely. It hasn't come out yet, but he's probably going to end up there. Is that
I
a big
haven't
deal?
heard a peep from Didi Gregorius since like May. So is it a big deal? I'm going to reflect the question on you. What has he done lately?
What has he done lately? He's actually hitting again. He's hitting over 300 in August. So he actually turned it back on.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he's, in my opinion, a top 5 defensive shortstop in the league, which is a shocking with all of the good defensive shortstops. When you watch him day to day, he's a very good defensive shortstop.
So what do they do,
guys?
guys?
But I'm sure he's good. Yeah.
What do? You do
move Torres to shortstop and bring up Torres?
There you go. That's your answer, because this sets up the reason I'm asking this question is then I can tell you my plan, because then this sets up the whole idea where you can sign Machado in the offseason and then flip Andujar or Didi Gregorius for starting pitching at the winter meetings, and you bolster your whole team.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me.
Trading Andujar would be tough right now. That guy is your best player.
Yeah.
It's insane.
No, I've been on the trade Didi train for a while. You trade Didi and a couple prospects for maybe a Bumgarner, or I want DeGrom, but they would never give up DeGrom.
Oh, that would not happen. Yeah, well, what prospects do you think? Like Sheffield?
Yeah, you have to give up Sheffield.
Yeah.
Sheffield and Frazier. And they would want Andujar more, most likely.
If the Yankees got Bumgarner, I'd be so upset. If
he would
hate one of my favorite players.
He would hate being a Yankee, being clean shaven and shit. He would hate it.
That's
he's such a gritty guy.
So like at work, I always talk about they're always like, oh, Bumgarner would be great. And I'm like, no, Bumgarner's not a city guy. Like he like goes mountain biking and like doesn't shave. Like he doesn't seem like a Yankee at all.
Yeah, he's not a Yankee. Yeah, that's the way to put it. He belongs in like Arizona or something. No, not even Arizona. Like just the Texas Rangers.
I would love him on Texas, except you give up a home run every 2 at bats because everyone who goes there sucks pitching.
Yeah. No, why does that happen? That's a topic for another day. Why does everyone who pitches for the Rangers just blow?
Actually, that leads into my next question. Do you want my next question? Have you, the Yankees were playing the Rangers this past week or so ago. Are you guys okay with the fact that the Rangers are #1 in offense, but dead last in pitching? Is that been our entire life?
Yeah.
That is the Texas Rangers my entire baseball watching life.
Yeah. Have they ever it always does seem like their offense is one of the most dynamic and their pitching sucks. Now that you've mentioned that, I never really gone deep into thought about that, but my image of the Rangers is a no-name pitching staff and an awesome offense. Always.
Yeah. That's all I have in my head is like they made the World Series just badgering teams with their bats.
Yep.
And like they're throwing like Colby Lewis out there and just like guys like that. It's just like gives you like 3 innings and gives up 7 runs. And then they score 12. Yeah.
You guys are not big Derek Holland guys as I was?
He's on the Giants now, isn't he?
Yeah. He shaved an awful mustache. Okay, last question. Talk to me about who's going to win the NL MVP, because I have a very strong opinion about this, and I'm getting in arguments about it.
I would like a disclaimer here. I have not looked at updated stats for probably the last week or two. So I might have an outdated mindset on this. I'm going to go Nolan Arenado. There's some bias, but this has to be the year. If there's going to be a year where Nolan Arenado does it, it has to be this year. Otherwise, I just don't see it happening anytime soon because of all the stars that are in the NL. He's been so good this season, both defensively and offensively. He's probably the best all-around player in the National League when you consider both facets of the game. I got to go with my guy Arenado with a little bit of bias there. But I do have a close second if you want that after you make your pick.
So I'm going to go with Javier Baez just because I think he's just on electricity. I think he's important to the Cubs. I cannot believe that Matt Carpenter is in the race, though.
He went on an absolute run, though.
If you told me at the beginning of the year Matt Carpenter would be in the top 3 or 5 for NL MVP, I would have told you, what are you smoking? So that's insane. I think it's either Baez, Arenado, or Freddie Freeman at this point. But
there's so many options.
Matt Carpenter's got a shot, too.
Yep.
So everyone's talking about how Matt Carpenter is the front runner, and I'm also biased. I want Arenado, but I'm going to make the case right now for Freddie Freeman. I think that entire Braves offense works because Freddie Freeman is in the middle of it. Without him, I really don't think that team is as good and those rookies are as good as they are now. He is the catalyst of that team, and he's literally so good that he brought Nick Markakis back from the dead to hit 330 or whatever he's hitting.
That's actually crazy that we just picked all three.
318.
Like, there's 3 different candidates, and they're all very fair arguments. And if any 3 of those guys wins it right now, we're not really complaining. It's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, and then there's a couple more you could throw in there too, like the Carpenters of the world. Like, you can do the same thing.
To me, the NL Cy Young will be fascinating. Like, does Scherzer get it? Does DeGrom get it? Even though their team sucks, is Aaron Nola like the new guy in the block, and he gets it? Like, that'll be pretty interesting too.
Yep. And AL MVP is Mookie and JD going to take votes away from each other, and then Trout's going to come out of nowhere again and win it. I don't know. I don't know how this is all.
You guys are all saying Giancarlo Stanton very incorrectly.
I see what you did there, guys.
All I can do is laugh. All I can do is laugh.
Dude, wait, time out. Okay, last thing, and then you guys can move on. He is hitting. He's hitting really well, and he's doing the thing where he hits a home run like every other day, like he did last August, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, this is his time of year for sure.
They need him too, definitely.
Oh God. You're done. You're done. Mails are done. Mails all sent in.
Mailbag's closed. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's our mailbag for the week. And if you have any questions, you can get at us anytime during the week at Tater Talk Pod, and we will absolutely read your question on the air. And you can leave a voicemail 978-294-9333. Let's move on to the video game bracket update. Let's make some votes. Like, tell them, give them the whole update from last week. Tell them how the tournament bracket looks right now, Graz, and then we'll make our picks.
Okay, on the left side in the first semifinal, we have Pablo Sanchez and John Dowd, which we decided last week, and that will be decided next week in the wonderful, exciting, I am now officially moved / exciting semifinal show sponsored by
and nothing confirmed. Nothing confirmed, but Pablo Sanchez in the semifinals against John Dowd means that we might get Tuma on next week, because this is a big round for Pablo Sanchez. We'll see how that goes. Not confirming anything, just saying Tuma might be on the show for this one segment next week.
He is the #1 expert. You know what? He's the only person who actually knows backyard baseball, I thought, more than me. Like, I was like really into it as a kid, and then I talked to him once, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a bigger fan than me.
When someone has an entire blog dedicated to backyard baseball, their picture on Twitter is of Pablo Sanchez, and their cover photo is backyard baseball, I don't think anyone can make an argument that they know more. I think that person by default knows more than you about backyard baseball.
I pictured Tuma like at his desktop when he was younger with like a pen and paper, and he's like writing down scouting reports on each player and then drafting based on that.
He's like, I have to get both Weber twins because they always play together better. Oh my God, that's a very inside joke. Good. Okay, here you go. Here are your quarterfinal matchups for this week to get to the semifinals. Right. You have Ken Griffey Jr. from Ken Griffey Jr.'s Baseball versus Scott Hattenberg, who had an upset win over Derek Jeter from MLB Power Pros. I have a very distinct vote here. Okay. I know what I'm choosing, so let me know.
I always go first. You guys go first this time. I want to be the guy who rebuttals.
Go, Zach.
You guys go first.
So I think Hatterberg got lucky in the first round. He was that novelty guy. I got to give it to Ken Griffey Jr. You got a game named after you. You have to at least advance to the semifinal. So I'm going Griffey.
The answer is completely the opposite. Scott Hattenberg is the single greatest baseball player of all time. He once hit 6 home runs in a game for the Cincinnati Reds and MLB Power Pros. And the fact that you guys did not play MLB Power Pros and had a shitty childhood is not my problem. The answer is Scott Hattenberg.
Yeah, it's Griffey. Next question.
That's not a rebuttal. You just kind of stated something and moved on.
If you vote, there's no integrity with this tournament if you pick Scott Hattenberg from Power Pros over Ken Griffey, the kid, Jr.
Okay, I'm challenging.
There's no integrity.
Any listener on here. I put Griffey. You won. Congratulations. But I challenge any listener that played MLB Power Pros. Please tell us the podcast. Call the podcast. Text me. I don't care. And just back me up that Scott Hattenberg is unbelievable. These kids don't believe me.
Was he on like the cover? What was his significance? Was it an inside joke with you and your friends with Hattenberg? What is the significance with Hattenberg? So
he's part of this greater. The Reds were always my second favorite team, and when you play with them in Power Pros that year, their lineup was unbelievable because it went Ryan Friel, Edwin Encarnacion, Ken Griffey Jr., Adam Dunn, Brandon Phillips, and then Scott Hattenberg. So you had this guy in the 6th hole that could have been hitting third in some lineups. He was just obscenely good. It's like,
yeah, you want to know what's cooler than
nowhere.
that? Having a game named after you, and the intro says, "Hi, I'm Ken Griffey Jr. Welcome to my world." That is cooler, automatically cooler than Scott Hamburg.
I mean, Scott Henberg had an entire movie, and Chris Pratt played
That's
him.
not
so
in Power Pros. We're talking about video games.
Okay, fine. Moving on.
I have breaking news, by the way. Kenley Jansen is back in the Dodgers bullpen, so good for him. Back from the whole irregular heartbeat issue that he had. He's already back, so that's good. Good news for Dodgers fans for sure. No takes on that.
He's
All
my
right,
second
move on to the
favorite-
next.
Just makes
I was
you.
expecting
Just makes you
something weird.
no, it just makes you think. Like he's back pretty soon from a regular heartbeat. So
Yep.
Dude,
We'll
they rushed
see.
him back. That bullpen was awful.
Yeah.
Last couple weeks.
they're like, we just blocked in a walk off. We need you.
Kenley Jansen's on like a hospital bed, and the GM walks in like, "Dude, please, we need you now."
We'll buy you a new heart. Just we need you
Dude,
for this.
are you kidding me? Magic Johnson has solved medical mysteries before.
Yeah, true.
He is a medical myth. He's still alive and he has AIDS.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah.
HIV. Money can fix anything. Moving on. Next matchup. Okay, this is an important one too. We got Pete Wheeler from the Backyard Sports going against Waluigi from Mario Baseball.
All right. Well, okay. Actually, you guys go first. You guys go first again.
Well, I'm going Pete Wheeler. I just have to go Pete Wheeler. I mean, people called me Pete Wheeler growing up. So
That's a terrible nickname.
I mean, no, it wasn't my nickname. People were just like, oh, that guy's looks like Pete Wheeler.
They probably said, "Oh, he thinks like Pete Wheeler too." That's not friendly.
Not.
These people were not your friends.
Hopefully not.
Graz, who you taking?
Of course, Waluigi by a landslide, greatest
Oh,
pitcher of all time.
Dude, you're like the Skip Bayless of this video game bracket.
Yeah, sure, I'll take that. I'm fine with that. But the answer is Waluigi.
This one was closer for me because I played backyard baseball as a kid. I didn't play it as much as it seems everyone else did. I liked it. It was a great game. This one's tough. But what the deciding factor is for me is I actually played Mario Party this past weekend, and I was forced to be Waluigi because I wasn't forced. Someone took Yoshi. That's my guy. Long story. So I went with Waluigi because I had never been Waluigi in Mario Party before. And the guy, every time he does something good, he takes out a rose and he does a little pose. And I was like, that is stupid. So I don't like Waluigi anymore. We'll probably never use him again. I'm going Pete Wheeler.
That's it. That's decided.
This podcast is brought to you by Outrageous Takes, and that is an outrageous take. But I am going to commend you for one thing. Yoshi is the pick in all Mario games. That's the guy.
If you pick Toad, if you go out of your way to pick Toad over Yoshi, you can get the fuck out of my face. Toad stinks. Stinks.
I swear to God, when I played Mario Party, I felt people had different stats. I felt Yoshi could jump higher than everyone. DK was stronger than everyone, even though they probably all had the same stats.
Right.
At the end of the day.
I think that's true in Mario Kart because I swear Yoshi drives faster.
I don't know about the speed, maybe in the newer games. I think Mario Kart 64, which is by far the best Mario Kart of all time. I don't want to hear any arguments otherwise. Mario Kart 64, I'm pretty sure it was just the weight of each character. And Toad was the fastest maybe because he was the lightest, but he also got pushed around a lot. I think that's what the deal was with Mario Kart. Yoshi was the middle of the pack guy, I think. Everything was just average.
I go Yoshi, and then if someone picks them or someone younger than me that I have to concede to so I don't get in an argument with a child, then I go Luigi.
Yeah. Now, Luigi's not a bad secondary pick. I usually go Bowser because it's if you're not Yoshi, I really don't care. Just I want chaos at that point.
Yep.
I am moving on. I guess we'll take Pete Wheeler. I'm actually fine with that too. I love Pete Wheeler.
We have quite a semifinals round. These two matchups. So what are they?
So your semifinals setting up for next week: Pablo Sanchez versus John Dowd from MVP Baseball, and then you have Ken Griffey Jr. from his game, and then versus Pete Wheeler. So two backyard sports athletes.
Two backyard sports athletes versus John Dowd from MVP Baseball, which is iconic, and then you have Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, which is also iconic. So it's basically backyard baseball versus other iconic. We'll see which end of the spectrum wins here.
Yep, should be good.
Little tease for next week. On that note, we'll go to the one last thing from Graz to play us out here on the rest of the podcast.
My one last thing, comes to from your neck of the woods, guys, did you hear the terrible news of the day? The Paw Sox are moving to Worcester. How dare they? I, as a Yankee fan, am even a supporter of the Paw Sox. They have a great nickname, and I like where you can get like autographs. They do like the baseball autographs. I've gone before where you can like drop them down. They're removing a staple to bring it to possibly the worst city on the planet. So
yeah,
congratulations.
A lot of people are really passionate about this. I've never been to a Paw Sox game in my life, but I can imagine the people of Pawtucket, Rhode Island are very upset, and probably rightfully so. And Worcester is the worst. So I think this is a terrible decision, but I don't know how the logistics were. Like maybe there's a valid reason for doing this. I really don't know. Worcester sucks. That's my only takeaway. Worcester blows. I don't know how Pawtucket is, but I can't be any worse than Worcester.
Yeah, I'm pro the move. I never went to Pawtucket, but maybe I'll actually go to a game now that they're a little bit closer in Worcester. Not that anyone's clamoring to see AAA baseball, but I'm like you said, I'm
Castillo.
Yeah, I'm crushed. I'm crushed for the people of Pawtucket, and somehow people are blaming this on Curt Schilling bankrupting Rhode Island, the fact that they couldn't pay their taxes or something. So it will always go back to that for me with Rhode Island and some sort of Red Sox connection.
You know what? If the ripple effect of Curt Schilling's video game thing actually had an effect on this, then I think this is an awesome story. I'll change my mind.
Always, for some reason, it's always Curt Schilling's bankruptcy. Like people like go to try to get food when I went to college, like, oh, I'm out of money. Like Curt Schilling stole my money. I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works.
Oh man. All right. So any final words before we head out of here? Nope. Anything.
Nope. Big
Not
series
even
tonight. Big series, Red Sox Indians.
That's right. That is right. Big series, Red Sox Indians, and it's not really based on like standings or anything like that. It's a measuring stick of what to expect come playoff time.
Yeah,
is what it is.
It's a dick measuring contest.
Exactly.
4 days.
And I love dick measuring contests. We'll leave on that note. All right.
Stan returns to Miami. Watch it.
That too. See you guys later.
All right, peace.